Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my week number 10 waiver wire ads for fantasy football in 2021. Inside today's video, I'm going to be going in depth into 10 different players that I believe you guys should be picking up off the waiver wire right now before it is too late. But before we can get on into things, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure to leave a like on today's video. It would help us out a ton. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 10 waiver wire ads, headlined by the number 1 overall waiver wire pickup of the week, Devonta Freeman, running back of the Baltimore Ravens, going up against the Miami Dolphins this week in Miami on Thursday Night Football. While playing any running back from the Baltimore Ravens seems to be a very confusing situation all season long, because one week you see one running back have a great game, and then the next week it's another running back. Right now, where we are sitting in the last 3 weeks, it has been very clear that Devonta Freeman is the lead running back in this committee system for the Baltimore Ravens. And Latavius Murray's health right now is certainly up in the air, so I'm not even sure if Latavius Murray is going to suit up in this game, which gives me even more confidence towards playing Devonta Freeman this week up against the Miami Dolphins, as well as making him my number 1 waiver priority on the week. Last week up against the Minnesota Vikings, in that ultimate collapse of the Minnesota Vikings team, we saw Devonta Freeman have 13 rushes for 79 yards, as well as having 2 receptions on 3 targets for 4 yards, as well as a touchdown in this game. I cannot make this any simpler as to why you want to add Devonta Freeman. For one, he's the lead running back on a run-heavy team in the Baltimore Ravens, on a team that could easily dismantle the Miami Dolphins. And speaking of the Miami Dolphins defense, this team is terrible up against the run. Devonta Freeman could easily run a train on that Miami Dolphins defense and finish as a top 12 running back on the week playing in Thursday Night Football. I expect Devonta Freeman to have a huge showing this week, and going forward, it seems to be that Devonta Freeman is the lead running back of the Ravens, so I definitely want to go ahead and get Devonta Freeman right now. Next running back and next player overall to be discussing in today's video is Brandon Bolden, running back of the New England Patriots, going up against the Cleveland Browns. Now, you can completely derail this argument if later on in the week we see that Damien Harris and Ramondre Stevenson are perfectly fine and able to go in the game, because Damien Harris and Ramondre Stevenson got hurt last week in their win up against the Carolina Panthers. If neither of them end up returning this week, we should be able to see a decent workload for Brandon Bolden. In last week's game up against the Panthers, like I said earlier, he had 8 carries for 54 yards, as well as having 2 receptions on 2 targets for 27 yards, as well as a fumble in that game. I was very shocked to see the stats at the end of the game, because normally Brandon Bolden's value is inherently coming from the receptions, from the target share inside of the offense. Normally, this guy might be seeing 5, 6, 7 targets in a given game, especially when you factor in the fact that Damien Harris was out, as well as Ramondre Stevenson. So you would think he would be seeing more receptions, but hey, we didn't see it last week, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if he goes back to normal and has maybe 5, 6, 7 targets in their matchup this week up against the Cleveland Browns. Again, this really does hinge on the fact that Damien Harris, as well as Ramondre Stevenson, missed time, but I still think Brandon Bolden is worthy of a stash even when those two are healthy, considering Bill Belichick might just fuck around and healthy scratch Ramondre Stevenson, because that's just something that Bill Belichick would do. Next up, we got Jordan Howard, running back of the Philadelphia Eagles, going up against the Denver Broncos in Mile High this week. The running back snap counts for the Philadelphia Eagles last week up against the Chargers, it was 44% Boston Scott, 40% Jordan Howard, and 19% Kenneth Gainwell. It seems like this backfield is going to continue to be very fucking confusing every single week, game in and game out. But with that said, I still believe that you can roster Jordan Howard and potentially play him this week up against the Denver Broncos. He has had 2 straight weeks with at least 1 touchdown. Last week in their game up against the Chargers, he had 17 rushes for 71 yards and a touchdown. Jordan Howard is far from this sexy running back. He's far from a guy that might catch 4 or 5 passes in a game. I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to be one of the lead backs on the team with him and Boston Scott, if at the end of the season, this man didn't even have a single reception. Because that's not the role they're looking to utilize him in. They're looking to pound the rock, especially when they're knocking on the door in the goal line to score. They're looking to go ahead and throw Jordan Howard into the game so he could score a touchdown. And that is perfect for fantasy football. Not the best for his receiving upside, but again, he has virtually no receiving upside. So don't even think that he's going to catch a pass this week up against the Denver Broncos. I expect him to play well. Again, it is a very confusing situation because don't be surprised at all if magically out of nowhere, Nick Sirianni decides to heavily utilize Kenneth Gainwell, because that's how things seem to be going. But at the end of the day, based upon what we've seen the last 2 weeks without Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard's season is upon us, and I will be starting him this week up against the Denver Broncos. Now we will be switching positions to a wide receiver with Donovan Peoples-Jones, wide receiver of the Cleveland Browns, going up against the New England Patriots in New England. With Odell gone, everyone last week, including myself, was like, holy shit. It's Jarvis Landry time, baby. Let's go Jarvis Landry. And Jarvis Landry was a complete and utter disappointment. He was an unmitigated fucking disaster for your fantasy football lineup. But luckily, there was one guy out of this offense that actually woke up. He actually played quite well, and that was Donovan Peoples-Jones. Up against the Bengals last week, he had 2 receptions on 3 targets for 86 yards and a touchdown. He's not a guy that I highly doubt we're going to see this guy get 7, 8 receptions or 7, 8 targets any given week, but he does have that big play upside, and I'm certainly willing to kind of roll the dice on a guy like Donovan Peoples-Jones, especially if the targets continue to go his way as they have the last 2 games Donovan Peoples-Jones has played. So I expect him to be an alright start this week up against the New England Patriots. But before we get on into the next player, I would like to let you guys know that we have partnered with Yahoo Fantasy this NFL season to bring you guys some great offers. Check out our exclusive limited time offer, which can get you guys 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, you need to be new to Yahoo, sign up for an account via the link down below, deposit and play. That's it. Yahoo will send us your name after you play in your first paid contest, and we'll reach out to you via email with your coupon. If you would like immediate access, then that is okay as well. All you got to do is email support@awesemo.com and we'll get you set up immediately. You can also claim a free $10 down below, which can be used to enter any Yahoo contest, including tonight's $100,000 Monday Night Football baller. Make sure to use our DFS tools and projections designed specifically for Yahoo to give you guys the best advantage and the best shot at winning big. Again, guys, please make sure you check out Yahoo, the link down below in the description. Now we're back on into the video. We move to the next player here, wide receiver of the New York Jets, the Jumbo Jets, Elijah Moore, going up against the Buffalo Bills this week. Over the last 3 weeks, we've seen Elijah Moore have over 6 targets in every single game. Last week was his true breakout game, the true breakout game of his NFL career because, you know, he's a rookie. So in that game up against the Indianapolis Colts with Mike White, then with Josh Johnson, he had 7 receptions on 8 targets for 84 yards, as well as having not 1, but 2 tutties in that game. While Mike White was knocked out of the game last week, like I said, it appears that Mike White is going to be the starter this week. Some people are clamoring for Zach Wilson, but get out of the way, Zach Wilson. It seems as though it is going to be Mike White this week, according to their head coach. So I think Mike White will be the starter in this game. While I'm a little bit nervous because, hey, they're going up against the Buffalo Bills. I understand the Bills just fucking lost to the Jaguars. Josh Allen just dominated Josh Allen. I know we heard that 7,000 times on Sunday. Oh, Josh Allen made Josh Allen fumble. Josh Allen picks off Josh Allen. It's very funny and all, but it was true. So I don't expect the Jets to have some triumphant fucking 24 points against the Buffalo Bills, but I do think Elijah Moore will be involved, and there is potential for this game to get a little bit spicy with Elijah Moore having a solid game with Mr. Mike White back in the saddle. Next up, we got Logan Thomas, tight end of the Washington football team, going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week. Logan Thomas is set to return this week up against the Bucs. We have seen Ricky Seals-Jones perform quite well in his absence, so it is very clear that the Washington football team is looking to utilize a tight end. In his last game before he was hurt, he ended up getting hurt in week 4 up against the Atlanta Falcons, so his last full game he played was in week number 3 up against the Buffalo Bills. He had 4 receptions on 4 targets, 4 for 4, like he was at Wendy's, for 42 yards, as well as a touchdown in that matchup. Going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense isn't the most ideal, but I do think Logan Thomas could have a solid bounce back game, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if down the stretch of the season, because obviously I don't think Logan Thomas is going to be a top 5 tight end at the end of the season when we look at the whole season because he's missed so many games, but down the stretch in points per game from week 10 on, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Logan Thomas was a top 5 tight end in that category. Next up, we move back to the wide receiver position with DeSean Jackson, wide receiver now of the Las Vegas Raiders, going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. DeSean Jackson was far from excellent as a player in LA for the Rams, but he also didn't have a very strong role in this offense. How could you, right, when you have Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods as the clear top-tier options on the team? And then Van Jefferson was kind of on a rise this season, so we're seeing a lot more Van Jefferson, and DeSean Jackson got pissed off and said, fuck it, fuck this shit, I'm out, and he went ahead and requested to be traded. They didn't trade him, so they cut him, and then the Raiders end up bringing him in. So his best game on the season for the LA Rams was in Week 3 up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, having 3 receptions on 5 targets for 120 yards, as well as a touchdown. Now on the Raiders, for him having a stronger role here, because he could just be the wide receiver 2 on the team. They're now without Henry Ruggs, and the only other wide receiver they really have is Hunter Renfrow. Bryan Edwards, swing and a fucking miss. All these other guys, they're not really getting all that much play. So if we see maybe DeSean Jackson get that good connection with Derek Carr, that he could end up paying off. Now, I understand that this is definitely a speculative ad. It's not 100% locked in that DeSean Jackson is just going to turn back to what he was all those many years ago. But at the end of the day, he's still pretty fucking fast, and I think that Derek Carr will be able to throw him the rock. Next up, we move to another wide receiver, Russell Gage of the Atlanta Falcons, going up against the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas, who just got absolutely shit-rocked by the Denver Broncos. After everyone seemingly picked up Russell Gage in week number 8, the guy was just a disaster in that game with 0 targets up against the Carolina Panthers. So once everyone unanimously runs away from Russell Gage, says, you know what, I don't want anything to do with that. It was a disaster last week. Let's just stay away. In week number 9, he has 8 targets, 7 receptions, 65 yards. Ridley has been put on the reserve list, meaning he'll be out for at least another 2 games with personal reasons. So we may be able to get a little bit more value out of Russell Gage for at least the next 2 games, and there's potential that this is just the end of the season for Calvin Ridley. Again, since it's not an injury, we don't necessarily know the timetable of return. Could he be back in 2 weeks? 100%. Could he be out all the way through the rest of the season? 100%. So I think Russell Gage is definitely worthy of an ad, and I'd be fine playing him this week up against the Dallas Cowboys. Not as a guy that I see like, oh, he could finish as a wide receiver 1, right? He's just going to become Calvin Ridley. That's basically impossible. But he will have a good enough of a role to have some success in this game up against the Cowboys. Next up, we move to Jeff Wilson Jr., running back of the 49ers, going up against the LA Rams. Jeff Wilson did not see a single snap in his return game up against the Arizona Cardinals. I know some people were higher than Snoop Dogg on Jeff Wilson, thinking this dude is going to have a much better bounce. He's going to just bounce back. He's coming off the injury. He's going to have a great game. He's going to get a lot of usage. Psych, he wasn't used at all. Elijah Mitchell is still the clear workhorse on the team, but if you are in a deeper league, I actually think Jeff Wilson is worth a speculative ad, as maybe the offense and Kyle Shanahan are looking to slowly ramp up the amount of touches he sees game in and game out. But again, not a guy I'm looking to play up against the Rams this week. Final player to discuss is Eno Benjamin, running back of the Arizona Cardinals, going up against the Carolina Panthers. With Chase Edmonds sent to the short-term IR with a high ankle sprain, James Conner is now the clear starting running back of the team and had a lot of success last week in that game. With that said, though, now Eno Benjamin has elevated himself. He's not going to be the number 1 guy, obviously. James Conner is that guy. But Eno Benjamin is now the number 2 back on the team. And last week up against the 49ers, after Edmonds got hurt, Benjamin had 9 rushes for 39 yards and a touchdown. Now, I'm not saying that this is a guy that's just plug and play because he just got elevated to the number 2 running back role, but I'd be very interested to see how he plays this week, and maybe going forward, we can actually start Eno Benjamin. So I like Eno Benjamin a decent amount. So thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure to hit that like button down below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. And if you would like, you can follow me on Twitter at NotoriousFNTSY. If you want to talk about any other waiver wire ads, please let me know down below in the comment section. I love talking with you guys down there. I love you guys all. Hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, good boy.